Hi there. How's it going? Well, I have some really strange stuff going on here. I mean, the title of this written journal that I'm going to share with you is kind of bizarre to me. You know how it is. You write it, it comes through, and it wasn't yours to begin with. And if you want it to be yours, you've got to go back and study it. That's what I find. So it's called Eckhart, the Tao, and ET Arrogance. Now, just for starters, let's remember that we're all one. So if there are ETs, that's us. If there is arrogance, that's ours. Everything out there is being outpictured from within. We're creators in some strange way we haven't totally figured out yet, but we do have some friendly star brothers and sisters helping us out, so that's nice. Anyhow, let me get into it. This was written on a Mayan day of one Ahau, one Lord or light, and that's powerful. It's the first of the numbers and the last of the Mayan sun signs combined. Oh, it was 12/7 a few days ago. Okay, I've been listening to Eckhart Tolle expound on one of his favorite books, The Tao Te Ching. It is rather ancient, being about 2,500 years old as we clock time. Now, it's interesting as he gives you the background, the story of how it was written. I hadn't heard that before. But once he gets into the actual words of it, it touches a really deep place. So if you want to be touched, go within. Now, have you read this book? It's a little bitty thing. Even if you haven't, you have. How is that? Well, to be at the point on the spiritual path where you are there, you've likely had many lifetimes, and this book has been famous in a number of them. So you've read it before, chances are. Probably studied it deeply if truth and spirit are the way of your life, and that doesn't happen overnight. So there are probably a number of bodies of lifetimes of yours where you stuck in some cave or another, deep in meditation on that. The lines in this book are so few and so sparse, we've all likely spent hundreds of hours on each one, and that maybe just in one of those lifetimes. Well, if you sit in a cave, there's really not much else to do. But seriously, I'll give you the link to this unusual lecture of Eckhart's, and maybe it will do for you what it does for me and erase the time. You may find yourself suddenly so very quiet, as if still in that cave. Well, my friend, you are. Time is simultaneous, and that body, that lifetime, it too is now. You can get in touch with it. I don't recommend seeking it out, but it may come to you via some lecture, like Eckhart's. Very nice. Time is nothing like most people think it is, including me. That's one of the big beliefs that takes a while going down. I like to ponder on it, though, knowing one day it will snap, be gone, and I'll be in the fullness of the here now, able to visit whatever time space I like. I'll contain the all, as I do now, but with that difference, total freedom to roam. So, time, or rather time-space, is one of the big beliefs. Some are not quite so big, like color, for instance, yet we still don't understand them as they truly are. Did you know that the color you see an object having is really the one color or frequency it rejected? Yes, by bouncing it back to you, that's the color it didn't absorb. Considering that it absorbed all the others, it could be said to be them more than the color that it shows you there, right? I know it's strange. Well, I'm finding that all of life is strange like that. What we understand things to be is generally the reverse of what they really are. God likes to play jokes, I think. And then there's the whole God thing. How strange that we turn out to be, if not that in itself, then so one with it that it really doesn't matter. That may be the strangest of all. So, what is real? What is not? And how make sense of the 7 billion or so answers we would get? Is each one of those people's realities real? Does it count as real if it's real to that person? I don't know. I guess there's the relative and the absolute. The relative reality is what each person creates, and it's real for them. It's their playground or schoolroom where they get to experiment in the lab, to practice being the creator they already are. Maybe what we're practicing is coming into awareness of that, for we are surely already that. How could it be otherwise when all that there is here now? There is no other time. In 1492, it was just here now. In 1704, it was here now. In 2000 BC, it was here now. It's never anything but here now. Thus, if it's real anywhere, any when, then it's got to be so now. How do we wrap our minds around that? Well, we don't. The mind doesn't need to come along for that particular ride. It's already enlightened, and at some point in the here now will pop into that awareness. Then there we are. Best leave the mind out of it. Let it take care of itself. Meanwhile, regarding all of this, there's something that's come to me, and I just pushed a button and lost my place. I tell you, me and technology. Okay. Excuse me. Do. Okay, so what is real? Practice being the creator that we already are. Now, it's got to be so here and now. Okay, sorry, folks. Meanwhile, regarding all of this, there's something that's come to me a number of times that I'd like to share concerning Ascension 2012 and all of that. My hope is that we all awaken in the lead up to 2012 or 2013 or whenever it is. I do feel there will be a something that happens at a particular point for those who haven't woken up to the fact that they project or create their own reality before then. Well, what they'll do is take the ultimate possibility-ness of it and recreate the past. Recreate whatever is in their mind, whatever they expect. Oh my God, could it be Armageddon? Now, that would be a bit sad compared to what could be for them and for all of us. We're being given this kind of teaching at this time, this lead up to the big event. It's coming at us from everywhere, and it's not for no reason. It's a time to prepare. Now, what does that mean to me? It means to get rid of every false idea that I can. It means to come to terms with and accept my Creator God status, little g. Now, that's no small thing. It's just exactly what we're programmed not to do, not to recognize, and not to accept. So if you find something in yourself resisting the whole concept that you create your own world, Well, best have a look at that so you can get to and eliminate the programming underneath, if you like. Our freedom is ours for the taking, but it does take some effort on our part. We've got to reach out for it. There are those who feel that the calendar will just suddenly hand them their victory, their ascension. These feel that to wait is all they need do. Now, they may well be right in a way, because all doing is ultimately false, but it's one thing to know that mentally, and quite another to incorporate it into the being. And that's the assignment, to make it part of our inner awareness, not just our thoughts. As we become aware of how all things around us are there by our making, our choice in some way, that all life is something we are projecting, that empowers us to recreate them as we choose, rather than continue the subconscious production going on now. As we take responsibility for our life as our own creation, we step into the shoes of the Creator God. Again, small g, of course, but still God. We're every bit the gods that our ancestors worship, those that came from the sky. Just because we've forgotten, we've lost touch with who and what we really are, does not take that away from us. We are that. We really are. There's no ET or extra-dimensional being anywhere that's better than you. Don't bow down to them. It's best that you know that now, for some of them will likely come to play out the old game of having us worship them. And it's important that we step into our own innate power before that day comes. We've got to meet them from that level, that stance of power. Respect them, yes, but forget the worship, guys. That day is done. We're through with being played with like that. At least I am, and I'm not alone. The ETs arriving are the least of our concerns, the way I see it. My concern is my sleepwalking brethren. Now, I know maybe that's not right of me. If we follow the ancient teachings, we know that the only one we need be concerned with is the self. By waking up ourselves, that is the way we actually rescue the world, to the extent that it can be rescued, to the extent of other people's choice and free will. I feel like I'm in on or in the midst of a different sort of cross at this time. Rather than the ones whose arms are space and time that I've journaled about before, this cross's composition is different. It's ethereal, but let me see if I can get it into words. It's a split into two, the two crossbeams again. This time, one of them is the oneness, the eternal one who knows self to be that. What is the other one? That one knows self to be the individual, knows that the self can make some difference while here in 3D. That one is not just this lifetime, though. It's more and more aware of all of its lifetimes as being now, like splinters that go to make up the beam. So it's odd, for in a way it stretches out, encompassing all time. Now, what's interesting is finding the exact point where these two cross, the fulcrum where perfect balance is maintained. Now, I don't think I've found it yet. I'm still feeling it out. That oneness beam, who is so aware that all of this is really not, is illusory, that one is quite strange. It's all-knowing and such, so it's a bit of a trick to grasp it, to be it in any way. One can't really grasp it. There's nothing to touch. Do you see? It's not really there in 3D like the other one. This is one very strange cross. With all my heart, how I wish I could wake everyone up. Now, I know I've got no business doing that. These people are in charge of their own life. Yet, as I look ahead and see the very real power that is theirs, that they do not yet see, well, it hurts. I see them, by ignoring the power of their inner divinity, recreating from mind their own future, and it doesn't look nice. Our minds are the most programmed part of us. In a way, our minds are the least our own as compared to our heart. By the programming, the Illuminati think that they own that part of us, that they control it. And for the sleeping ones, they do. It's like my vision is being opened up a little bit to see into the future. And it's hard to look at people making such choices, knowing what is also available to them, that they're entirely innocent of. They have no clue yet, and you can't force it on them either. That wouldn't be right. That would be worthless. Worse than that, it would just set them back. Just be yet another form of control. Do you see? It must be hard to be God, don't you think? She, he, it can see everything, know everything, and has to watch us with our free will make some stupid moves. What it's most like is parents. It can be tough to watch a child screwing up. Still, we know it's important that they make their own choices. Us making their choices, now, that's a way to really screw up the works. They never grow up that way. Very sad. We can't keep people from hurting themselves. What's so strange is that I'm not at all used to seeing this way. I'm used to having the solid awareness that my internal changes are that which can change the whole world. I know that. I really do. I know that trying to help other people is misguided. It doesn't respect the full divinity that they also are. They too are playing their parts. It's no different than me playing my role here. So, what the heck has changed? It seems I've expanded out into something, maybe. Or is it a setback? Heck, I don't know. The mind says it could be, and I can see that. I guess it's watch and observe time. No answers forthcoming here. Okay, now I'm stepping out of this one. As I read it, it's the 10th, I think, and it's had a while to marinate within. And I do see it as the expansion. I'm also playing those roles in my creation of those other people that aren't waking up yet. So what I need to do is look into myself and see what parts of me are choosing not to wake up, choosing to go on in ignorance. All right, so back into this that I wrote here. So anyway, my friends, from what I can see at this point, the very best thing we can be doing is divorcing the self from the past, from all belief in, all sensing of that. To the extent that we believe in the past, we recreate it. Now, perhaps that's how history repeats itself. I don't know. I just know that belief in the past, which equates to the full contents of mind, is merely limiting. It takes all the wide world of possibility away, replacing it with the tried and supposedly true. So let's all push the boundaries of our comfort zone. Let's not be complacent in the midst of the contents of mind. Instead, let's be on the watch and observe post with an eye toward uncovering false beliefs. How do we know when we've found a false belief? Well, you found a belief. They're all false. They really are. Those that are true for a temporary period, they're also false. That's not real truth, capital T, which is true for eternity. And that's the truth that we're after. We won't find it in mind. As we hold all of our beliefs lightly, we'll be in very good shape. As we're prepared to be told we're wrong about something and be open to that, again, we're in good shape. The mind has a very natural arrogance. Perhaps you've noticed? It's quite natural to mind. If you want to see the extreme of that, look to some of the not so benevolent ET races, the ones mostly trying to mess with us, to get us to believe that they are our creators, our saviors. Cross them. Just say no to them and watch the arrogance shine like a big black eye. It becomes so very obvious. You see, to beings who look on mankind as their herd of cattle, they just can't possibly equate us with themselves. Are you going to look one-on-one, smack into the eye of your sheep out there in the pasture as your equal? Well, maybe that's how they see us. As nice as they might play act with us, pretending to be our saviors, it has no ring of truth. Now, that's what I say. That's why I say, if you're ever contacted, that's fine, don't fear, but don't trust. Even if they appear as light beings, still don't trust. Be sure at some point to challenge and test them, from heart of course, watching and sensing from there. The arrogance is bound to show. Now this is not as unfortunate as it may seem. First, it makes the imposters that much easier to spot. Just know what you're looking for, and if it's there, you'll find it. It may not be there. Your guys may be the ultimate good guys. Ultimate, I take that word out. The good guys. I don't know. It does seem to me that the good guys these days are largely silent, not interfering with us. The ones trying to make things come out like they want them to, those are the typical manipulators. They're not spiritually advanced. Oh, they put on a good show being from 4D, though they'll claim the higher dimensions, which enables them to show up here in 3D as light. That doesn't hide the emptiness of their heart, my friends. There's nothing there with some of them, just a vacancy, no feelings, no heart. Now, I don't mean to speak out against some of the races who don't have the full range of feelings that mankind is blessed with. The Andromedans are one of those races, and they're totally benevolent. They're just low on the feeling scale. It's not part of their biology, of their experience of life. And that's one of the things they like to study about us. It mystifies them. So, having no feelings isn't the issue. It's the empty heart thing. When you get to connect with them heart to heart, with some of them, there's just a vacancy there. It may be they are clones or androids, some of them. As usual, I don't know. It doesn't matter to me, though. As long as we stay in heart, we're in the place of discernment, and the truth will show if we give it a chance, if we don't go jumping off any cliffs into belief prematurely. It may take some observing, some watching before they show their cards, though. And before they do, they'll want to get you to do certain things or let them do certain things. They may want to take you someplace or put an implant in you for the very best of reasons, of course. If you stay in mind with them, they will convince you. They are masters of mind. Each one will do what they will, but for me, I'm not leaving the planet. I'm accepting no implants or off-planet surgeries. No such thing. So just don't be in mind with them. That's my request. As we practice being in heart now, that will come in handy on that nerve-wracking day when we first meet them face to face. It's upcoming for each of us. It may be the good guys or not. I believe everyone alive today that's older than about 80 or 90 is destined to have this experience. Now, it doesn't matter. What matters is being centered, being very much in the now moment or in heart. That way, we will get a read on them. We'll get a sense of their vibration. It will be different, of course, so it may be a bit difficult to sense into. We can't reject it merely for its difference. But, my friends, we all know the feeling of integrity, the sense of honor and truth. We get the sense of these, and they are the same wherever they are found. We also know the feeling of being in the presence of arrogance. Well, believe me, when you encounter this one, ET style, you won't be able to miss it. That's why I keep saying to challenge them. Give them a chance to show their stripes. Then you'll just know. You'll see what I mean. You've never encountered an arrogance like that. I've only dealt with them in the astral or etheric plane, never physically, at least that I have conscious memory of. Even then, however, they couldn't hide their superior sense of themselves and how they look down at us. They just don't expect us to challenge them, my friends, in their arrogance. So be sure to do this. Catch them off guard this way. You'll know in a New York minute, the shortest kind, what they're made of. Arrogance has an auric stench. You will know beyond a doubt that no light being worth her salt would ever come across like that. It's colossal. It'll blow you away. Okay, here's yet another strange journal. I don't know is all I can say. I'll just have to watch and see myself. I will tell you that sometimes I get a little green with envy at the guys who get the mental awakening. They know so much. It's amazing. Still, in the end, I could go into eternity with heart. And I don't think knowledge is all that important. It has no reality outside of heart. It arises from that. Knowledge doesn't come first. Why? It's part of the creation of the cosmos, and it's related to that. Source certainly pre-exists the cosmos, and the kind of knowing Source is all woven in with is love. Love is never absent from that capital T. I think some of these people's quote-unquote enlightenment may be from some of the ETs manipulating their DNA. It may be purely physical and not spiritual at all. Also, there's a certain sort of I'm better than you are attitude about some of them. Have you noticed? Well, it's not as strong as the ETs have it, but it's still an arrogance that I find no part of in heart. So I think I'll just leave it alone. I wish them well, of course. I wish everyone well. Heck, I even admire what they've got, their mental blessings and abilities, but I won't pay such a price for it. I won't walk a path with no heart. Now, okay, that's the end of it. It's interesting that I noticed the very next journal that I did was the reading from Nisargadatta's I Am That and commentary, which kind of flowed from some of this. It answered some of the things that I brought up here. Okay, everybody. On to a wondrous day full of blessings for each and every one of us. Why not? Where you stuck in some cave or another, deep in meditation on that. The lines in this book are so few and so sparse, we've all likely spent hundreds of hours on each one, and that maybe just in one of those lifetimes. Well, if you sit in a cave, there's really not much else to do. But seriously, I'll give you the link to this unusual lecture of Eckhart's, and maybe it will do for you what it does for me and erase the time. You may find yourself suddenly so Hi there. How's it going? Well, I have some really strange stuff going on here. I mean, the title of this written journal that I'm going to share with you is kind of bizarre to me. You know how it is. You write it, it comes through, and it wasn't yours to begin with. And if you want it to be yours, you've got to go back and study it. That's what I find. So it's called Eckhart, the Tao, and Powerful. It's the first of the numbers and the last of the Mayan sun signs combined. Oh, it was 12/7 a few days ago. Okay, I've been listening to Eckhart Tolle expound on one of his favorite books, the Tao Te Ching. It is rather ancient, being about 2,500 years old as we clock time. Now, it's interesting as he gives you the background, the story of how it was written. I hadn't heard that before. But once he gets into the actual words of it, it touches a really deep place. ET Arrogance. Now, just for starters, let's remember that we're all one. So if there are ETs, that's us. If there is arrogance, that's ours. Everything out there is being outpictured from within. We're creators in some strange way we haven't totally figured out yet, but we do have some friendly star brothers and sisters helping us out, so that's nice. Anyhow, let me get into it. This was written on a Mayan day of one Ahau, one Lord or light, and that's power. So if you want to be touched, go within. Now, have you read this book? It's a little bitty thing. Even if you haven't, you have. How is that? Well, to be at the point on the spiritual path where you are there, you've likely had many lifetimes, and this book has been famous in a number of them. So you've read it before, chances are. Probably studied it deeply if truth and spirit are the way of your life, and that doesn't happen overnight. So there are probably a number of bodies of lifetimes of yours.